Do you lick or bite your ice cream?
Bite.
That I'm sure people just got like shivers in their mouth.
No hesitation. Bite.
Welcome to Soul Food, a conversation series that celebrates the flavors, stories, and journeys that shape us. In each episode, I sit down with someone carving their own path in life to explore moments, mindsets, and meals that made them. I believe there's so much to be learned from the lived experiences of others, so I wanted to share these stories so we can all be inspired in unexpected ways. For our very first episode, I'm speaking with Desmond Chiam, an actor based in Los Angeles. When I was planning this podcast, I knew I wanted to speak with Des because he's had a really unconventional career path. He studied law in Australia, now he works as an actor in the US. He's best known for playing the villain in sci-fi series Shannara Chronicles and in Marvel's The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Lately, Des has been showing his range in comedy and romance, starring alongside Asian Hollywood stars like Ashley Park and Stephanie Su in the film Joyride, as well as in the romantic comedy television series Amazon Prime's With Love and Netflix's Partner Track. In addition to his law degree, he holds a master's in screenwriting from USC. Among friends, he's known for his razor-sharp pizza-making skills and his even sharper jawline. Des is Singaporean by descent, Australian by upbringing, and he also happens to be my little brother, though he's not so little anymore. At my company, the Ice Cream and Cookie Co., we started out by making ice cream for family and friends, and so my podcast is starting the same way with family. Hello, Des.
What's up?
Thank you for joining me today.
No, not at all. I'm happy. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'd love to have a chat with you.
Yes, yeah.
It should be our regular brother-sister date in Singapore.
It should be. We should do a quarterly Des podcast.
Yeah, just to track it, see how we're going.
Yeah. But let's start at the beginning. Like, I want to
Sure.
know how you built your career in an industry that is pretty opaque. I mean, you work at a company, there's some kind of career ladder that we generally follow. But in creative fields like acting, it's so diverse. The paths are so diverse. So let's start at the start. I know you had quite a conventional education. I mean, we grew up together. But I want to know, how did this happen? Like, who was Des as a kid? What were you into? What kind of hobbies, what kind of part-time jobs did you have when you were growing up?
I mean, that's a huge question. So I mean, I guess let's start like beginning, right? So you know me, as a kid, I was a nerd, huge nerd. I had the bowl haircut and everything, the Harry Potter glasses that, like, even one time on a trip that we took, like, snapped.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that? Like, I took a football to the face, the glasses broke in the middle. We had to tape them up with a Band-Aid.
With a Band-Aid for the whole trip.
And Harry Potter had just come out as well as a book. So, like, the whole time it was like, hey, look, it's an Asian Harry Potter. Yeah. So that was sort of like my start, and we had a very conventionally Singaporean upbringing, despite being in Australia. No, we had a lot of the tuition, a lot of extracurriculars, a lot of grind, which I think served as like a foundation for a lot of how I approach stuff in the future. And we're going to get deep on that. We're going to talk about how that's useful. But yeah, no, early days, like I couldn't even tell you, aside from video games, which were kind of like my one thing that was like, I really enjoy these and I still enjoy them to this day. There was not like one single specific thing I could point to that was like, yes, that's my identity. And I think there are drawbacks to that. And I think there are advantages to that. The drawbacks being, of course, that if you have no agency as a child to be like, hey, I like these things, or you like, or this, given the space to like make that determination on your own, you kind of grow up a little untethered. But the advantages as well is that when it does come time to make that decision, you are much more well informed. You're ready for it. You haven't committed too early to something. So yeah, I spent a lot of time socializing with very, very, very smart individuals, and I think by benefit of you yourself included among them.
Thank you.
And I think by benefit of having all those people around me, kind of got uplifted a little bit.
I mean, you just mentioned you surrounded by smart individuals. I know a lot of your friends, they went in to do, math, sciences. A lot of them went to study law and medicine.
We had this one kid in our year who was like the destined child. You remember Jack Wang?
Yes.
And it was like, Jack Wang, he will be the #1 student in Victoria this year.
Yeah.
It's him or Z Lowe from Scotch College. Like, it was just this thing. And Jack pipped him, I think, at the post.
Yeah. And so, you're coming from that educational background, and the group of people you mix with are quite, academic. How did you then see acting as a viable career? Because I think growing up, it wasn't a viable. It was like, you're going to be a doctor, an accountant, an engineer, or a lawyer.
Can I tell you, Mum and Dad, I don't know about you, but for me, Mum and Dad very successfully like quarantined me from the idea that anything creative could be a career. Like I literally, in a very, very literal sense, grew up thinking that creative, like artists or people who painted or like took photographs or like made art, that was a hobby that they did, and they all had another job.
Right.
Like that was just the reality I lived in as a child
from
about like 1 to 18, which is quite late.
Yeah.
So
so when was the turning point? Like how did you then see, acting actually to me can be a viable career?
Well, we had a good friend, mutual friend, Chris Pang, who was sort of into it first, and he did one of the first Universal movies that was shot in Australia called Tomorrow When the War Began, based on this very storied Australian novel. And we were mates at the time, and after I finished law, I've skipped a step here. Before Chris Pang, I got into breakdancing, and that was like my creative gateway drug.
Yeah, I see that.
Met a lot of people who like wanted to be, writers or photographers, and they told their families that, and no one laughed at them.
Yeah,
and through that, and then I took an exchange year in America. In 2008, where I kind of like just spent that. This is going to sound insane, but it was like step up. Just spent the whole year dancing. I met my wife, who was on another collegiate dance team. Hi, Sammy. She's here in the studio with us. And it was like house parties full of dancers who were just like the most free and creatively expressive people that I've ever met. And it was a big renaissance for me. I was like, oh wow, you can do this for real and like be serious about it. And now dancing wasn't for me as a career, because dancing is one of the hardest ones. Kids out there, out of all of them, dancing is truly probably the hardest. But I explored some other things. And then Chris came into sort of the picture, and we started doing scenes together after I quit the legal career.
Yeah.
I was helping him shoot stuff. And then he was like, why don't you just submit yourself with me? And we had another friend, Dennis, who we all live in LA now. We're all working actors, and those two kind of got me my start. They emailed John and Wendy, my first agents in Australia, and they were like, why don't you take this guy on? And I had a meeting with them, and they said no, absolutely not, until you go get more training. So I went and got more training, and then I came back to them, and the second time I knocked on their door, they said, okay, yeah, you took our advice, you said, we saw something in you, we told you to go do some work, and now you've come back. We think you're ready. Let's launch.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because I think a lot of people try and then they get the door closed and then they're like, okay, that's not for me. I'll try something else.
Oh,
so for you, what made you want to go back? Like, what was it about acting, this particular craft, that drew you in?
It was fun. I think when I was a kid, I loved playing around. Every kid loves playing around. We all do. And I think there was something very alluring about the idea of being able to just do make-believe for money. And the money was good. Well, for a college student, a uni student at the time, like looking at it, the money was pretty good. You spend a whole day on set for an ad, you get paid 10 grand, which I know now is peanuts, by the way. But at the time it was like, wow, you can just do that?
Yeah.
And I think in a very weird way, a lot of gamers will appreciate this, because like, there's always a world like Final Fantasy or something that we're like, oh, we'd love to live in that world. Like, that'd be so cool. And that thought occupied a lot of my childhood. And then I found acting, and I realized all that stuff, the Lord of the Rings, the Star Wars, I was like, oh, people actually did that on a set that was built and looked like that. And they held lightsabers and dueled swords. And I was like, you can do that. You can live in that world. So I was really, really taken by that. And, I think that Siren Song eventually just got me, because once I started doing scenes and getting to the nitty-gritty of it and like inhabiting other characters and people and lives and personalities, something about that really clicked for me spiritually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And inhabiting that imaginary space.
Yes.
Because I saw that as a child growing up. Like, you always had your nose in a book.
Yeah.
Usually some kind of sci-fi fiction book.
Yeah.
And so I feel like
genre.
Yeah. Now that you're able to inhabit that, not just in your mind, but in the physical world, and share that with people.
It's crazy to me that Mum and Dad had to ban books.
Yeah, they were like, no more reading at the dinner table. Stop
I read
reading.
a lot, guys. There was a contract. A contract came out This was roughly in the middle years when I
those rough teenage years.
And
you're reading too many books.
When I was reading too many books and got my first C, and there was a huge emergency in the family. Should I tell that story?
You can.
I got my first C in maths, and I was reading too many books, and we called in this auntie whose specialty was like troubled young boys.
Yeah, this auntie, she's
woman.
She's like a dragon lady in a teacher form. Like
Yeah.
she's this Asian auntie who's been an educator for the last don't know how many 50 years or whatever. And she's
very effective.
Very effective, very transformative for lots of youths, like you mentioned. So anyway, auntie comes in to talk to Des.
Sits 12-year-old me down at the table, and the one phrase I remember from this dressing down was like, Desmond, this is how dynasties fall, okay? You understand, right? Like you hear in Chinese history, Ming Dynasty, Qing Dynasty, they all fall. This is how they fall. This is how it starts. And I was like, oh, that's me right now, I guess. So I straightened up, but not before mum and dad put a contract again in front of a 12-year-old on the table. And I have to stress, the best parents in the world. We love them very, very dearly. They've instilled us with a lot of good things. This may have been a bridge too far. The contract was like, if you don't, if you do your homework, if you go to your swimming training without complaining, which was 5 a.m. every morning, like 5 days a week, if you practice your violin, if you stop reading books, which is crazy.
Those science fiction books.
Yeah. Then we will give you our unconditional love. If you refuse the above, then we will. And I don't remember what the consequences were, but they weren't that bad. But, as a kid, you fear any negative consequences.
Yeah.
So, I think that put a little bit the fear of God into me. And I was like, I better straighten up.
Yeah. So you went to America, just taking a few step back.
Yeah.
You went to America. Yeah. You saw other people having artistic careers. Totally. You saw people from our hometown, Melbourne. People who were like you, who grew up like you. Yes. Start to go into acting. Mm-hmm. So when you decided to jump into it, what were people's reactions? And did people's reactions even matter to you? You mentioned no one laughed when people said, I'm going to be a dancer in these communities, but in our community it's quite different. So how did you?
I don't think anyone's reaction was bad. I think I've heard some real nightmare stories from people in my industry, parents cutting them off and stuff. I didn't get any of that, which we're really lucky again to have great parents who were like, who didn't get it. Like dad to this day doesn't get it. But he's like, just do it, be good at it,
He's like, just as long as you go and be good at it, be really good at it.
Be tough and be driven. And I was like, okay, well, I can do that because you taught me how to do all that. And I'm glad you're letting me use those skills in a field that you don't understand. I think my peers, I think the law school kids were a little, I didn't intuitively get along with a lot of law school kids when I was there. There's just something about law school kids, guys. I've got to be honest with you.
I mean, I disagree, actually. A lot of my best friends are from law school.
So. There's something about law school. I'm leading the podcast. It's run by a law school kid. No, well, because I think I don't know. Because I stayed friends with a lot of my high school friends that went to law school with me, Simon and Kev and all that stuff. So they were kind of like my friends. But in terms of making new mates in law school itself, that proved kind of tricky for me. I think because the less, jibey answer to that is I think a lot of them they knew what they wanted to do. And when you're a person who knows what they want to do and then there's someone there who's kind of floating, like they're not really committed to the thing. Yeah, of course, it's going to be harder to talk to that person. So it's not that they excluded me. I think just they were at a different point of life.
Yeah.
And that flip though, when I was like, I want to do acting instead, was when that was sort of when I was less useful to people there. It was like, well, we're here in law school to network with people who are going to go on and do great things. And the vibe that I got was like, okay, we don't need to network with Des, which is fine because we all found our tribe in the end. I also was pursuing an arts degree concurrently. So, I ended up hanging out with those kids a ton more. And that was really, really nice. They were all very encouraging. So, look for your tribes, look for the people who build you up.
Yeah, I mean, acting itself is a very hard career. So having a tribe is really critical, I think.
Oh, man.
You know, there's so much rejection. I mean, similar to being the path that I've chosen as a business person, it's like there's so much rejection, there's so much uncertainty. In a way, like you need to wait for people to give you a job, right? Because you can't just go and act on the street or like start your own acting company. Like it's not the kind of thing that you could actually do.
Yeah.
Was there a time that you almost gave up or wanted to give up?
Yeah, I don't think I've met many actors who aren't on the precipice of quitting every other season.
Yeah.
You know, I met this very storied veteran actor recently. I won't out the name, but he just sort of said tongue in cheek to me recently. He was like, "Des, my agents always know I'm about 6 weeks away from quitting," and he's like.
And how many
60.
years in is he? Okay,
Yeah.
so he's been 6 weeks away from quitting
for
decades,
for like a long time. But weirdly, right? Having your foot out the door, that's not the right way to put it. Having other options is really important. Like the one thing that kept me going through the really tough times was taking an evaluation of like, okay, I really love this thing that I do. This is the best thing that I can do that I can make money with, right? But on the list holistically of things that exist in the world, is it number one? No. Which sounds really weird, right? Because the advice is always like, find your passion, find your joy. You'll never work a day in your life. No, sometimes the thing that you love is still work, right? So for me, I ran down that list and I was like, okay, number one, I like spending time with my family. Number two, I like to travel. Number three, I like a day at the beach. And then number four is acting. And weirdly recasting that priority in my head helped with my longevity. I think, because if I find that the actors in LA, and this applies to all creative careers, the ones who just live and breathe and die their craft day in, day out, all they can talk about is what acting class they've taken recently, what class they've, there's a word for when you sample a class you go in and they've done like 20 of those. And literally like when you meet them at events or you see them socially, the first thing out of their mouth is like, what are you working on? You know, it's just so all encompassing. They may hit, they may not. I find most of them don't work. And I find a lot of them fade away because it's just too much pressure to put on yourself like day in, day out.
Right. So ranking it in that way takes the pressure off such that you have some breathing space to continue.
Yeah. Being like, hey, listen, even if this thing falls apart, because you're right, we are beholden to the gatekeepers. We don't get a job until the producers, the casting directors say yes. Even if this falls apart for X amount of time, I have 1 to 3 on the list that I can still do. I can spend time with my wife. I can go to the beach. I can go spend time with my family, you know, and those are things to be, in a weirdly flip way, to be grateful for. Right. I have the space and time and means, because acting pays relatively well, to still do those things, you know? And obviously that doesn't work for everyone starting out. When you start out, you got to grind.
Yeah.
You got to grind. But
let's talk about that, because you mentioned there's that quote where you find something you love and you never work a day in your life. Yes. I totally disagree with that quote because I love what I do, but I work damn hard.
You work damn hard.
So tell me about that. You know, you talk about the grind, and I think like people look at acting and they think it's so fun where you just sort of sit there and you know, people do your makeup and you just smile, and I think it's actually really far from the truth. Yeah. So tell me about that, the work ethic you've seen or that you've experienced in this career.
I feel like you should be telling us about the grind, because I've never met a harder worker than my sister. Truly, like
I'm very stubborn.
Yes, very stubborn, very headstrong, and very good at just doing the damn task. Like I remember in like early days uni or early days like high school, you did like every paper.
I did every practice paper that existed from the start of the history of that exam, because but that's just me. But that's why I don't believe that you never work a day. You're still going to work.
Totally.
And some days you're going to hate it.
Some days you're going to, absolutely.
And so have you found that to be true? Like some days you really hate what you're doing, and how does that?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
I count every single day on set as a blessing. I don't understand the psychology of actors who work so hard to get on a set, and then when they get to the set, they can't wait to leave. They're like, oh, my coffee didn't get to me, and there's all these complaints, and it's like, oh, when's my shot? My shot's after lunch, and why am I here before lunch? And I'm like, you're in this incredible creative space in LA, with a bunch of creative people. There's so many disciplines going on. There's gaffers doing work over here. There's the DP doing work here, the director's doing work here. Watch, go, observe, listen, absorb all that light and spirit, It's really, really important to me. So set, no. I don't have a problem grinding through 16-hour days on set. I love it. I will always spend more time there. the difficult part is the getting the job.
Yes.
It's the audition after audition after audition after
and the
audition
constant like
after
a million
audition.
no's.
Yeah. Because you do, if you are committed, you do fall in love with the parts that you do a little bit, you know, depending on the part. Sometimes it's like dating, right? Sometimes you'll be reading one script and you'll be like, I don't know about this one. Then you put it down on camera and you're like, no, I'm starting to feel it now. Or sometimes you'll be like, oh, I love this one. And then you start doing it on camera and you're like, no, this one's not for me.
Yeah.
But you do fall in love with each little thing that you do, particularly in the auditions where I heard a quote recently where that's the only part of the process where an actor has complete creative control over the process. Because any other point of the process, you're beholden to a director or a producer. Or a writer, or whatever. Yeah. But auditions, no, you get your say. You do your choice. So it does leave a kind of indelible mark on you. And when you love something and then have to let it go on a constant basis, that can get quite difficult. But as with relationships, I think the key there is to pull from the parts that made you love it. And remember those parts. Don't remember the bad times. Remember the good times. Remember how much it taught you, where it stretched you, how it changed, your life. Because sometimes doing these other characters, you learn things from the people on the page every now and again.
I like what you said about you've made it to the set and you're grateful to be there. Yeah. And you just could spend the whole day there or more. And that reminded me of something I read. It's like a lot of people turn up to life and they say, I've got to do this. I've got to pick up my kids. I've got to cook dinner. I've got to go to my work. I've got to do all these things. And the moment you change the got to a get, it just changes. It reframes everything because it's like, I get to pick my kids up from school. I get to work a job. I get to cook dinner. I've got food. So it just reframes everything. Yes. And I just feel that that's kind of what you said.
I've got to do this audition where I might not get a job. No, I get to live in a fantasy land for about 2 hours today where I can do whatever I want. Yeah. I mean, you can't beat that.
Yeah, it's that power of that mental reframing, I feel, is very helpful.
Absolutely.
In these careers where things are hard. And I think not even in these careers, in any job, actually, you're going to have days which are just like, oh, how am I going to get through this? So,
and then whenever there's a deficit, right, you lean on the people around you. You lean on Andrew. You lean on your kids. I lean on Sammy,
Yeah, Andrew's my husband, by the way.
Yeah, that's... No one person holds the key to it and the key to happiness all inside one body. I don't think our bodies can handle that.
But, very true. Yeah. What's a risk that you're glad that you took, even if it maybe didn't turn out the way you thought?
2 answers for that. I think the big macro risk of jumping into acting was a lot of people are like, wow, you're so brave for doing that. And I am proud that I took that risk, but with the benefit of hindsight, I can see that I was a young kid at the time who really hadn't weighed the risks.
Yeah.
And, when you don't know what you jump, when you sometimes
you're jumping in head first. Just,
exactly.
That young.
Yeah. When you're facing away from the bungee platform, it's easier for them to push you.
Yeah. So, okay. I mean, that's a big risk. Yeah. Actually.
So that's one. That's a meta risk. But the other one is this is a specific performance I did for a part that I never got. But it really unlocked some stuff. It was this crazy. I think the part was written 60 years old, which already is like, what? And then he's like some super aggro, dialed up on like Percocets and just a whole bunch of like upper pills and he's like a gambling addict and stuff and he's super aggressive and angry and like talks a mile a minute, and that's not my nature at all. But we worked so hard on that. I was like, okay, usually when something is so outside your nature, you have a chat with your manager and you're like, maybe not for me, not this one. But I was like, no, let's give it a shot. Let's just roll the dice. Let's get outside our body and do something crazy and inhabit one of these like, draw on this like old school New York kind of gangster character. And as an Asian guy, that's a risk, right? Because, you're tapping into a culture that people don't necessarily align with you, even though we've been in New York for hundreds of years. And it was just such a fun character and it paid off. We went all the way to the end of the process. They saw something in me that they didn't originally see in the character. And in the end, they did end up going older. They went with a guy who was like, I think 60, close to 70 at that point.
Okay.
But the fact that we pushed that one all the way to the end made me realize like, oh shoot, I can take a risk on some performances. I can make an outside choice and have it pay off because at this point I'm polished. I know what I'm doing. I have, discipline behind me. I have skills behind me. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that's a very good lead on to another question that I wanted to ask you, which was, you've played a lot of different parts, comic book villain, romantic interest. Like, is there a role that taught you something about yourself?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Everyone teaches me about myself. I think the most recent lesson I learned was, and this is actually good advice. This will be a bit of a long one, but good advice for any entrepreneur or someone forging their own path. In Australia, we grow up with this thing called larrikin culture. We don't take anything seriously, right? Like we're a bit, tall poppy syndrome. We cut down with jokes anyone who grows a little too tall or big for their britches, or we use humor to diffuse a lot of situations and present ourselves as a little more harmless. So I booked a part on a show that you mentioned, With Love. And in the first season, I was like the Joey Tribbiani of the group. I was the jokey guy. I was like, here's a fun fact. Let me tell you about Cleopatra. And, it's just like, he had that kind of like jokey vibe that I'm very comfortable with. That's how I get through life. You know me. I'm very self-effacing. He was very self-effacing. He's, and then in the second season, he grew into this like he was meant to be the love interest. That was meant to be the fated pair, him and the lead girl in the end. And I was still in that first season energy. And my showrunner took me aside and she said, "Hey, Des, like what you're doing, but we do need to change your energy because now you're a leading man. In this season, you are a leading man. I need you to back off the jokes a little bit. I need you to back off that like humility thing that you're doing to make everyone comfortable. No, we need intense gazes into the side of a camera lens, or we need intense gazes into this, into Emerald Tubia's eyes, lovely actress. And that's not something that I'm comfortable with because I don't have that kind of ego, right? You know me, growing up, awkward around a lot of people, awkward around women.
Yeah.
But that was something that coincided with a movie that I was doing called Joyride, with Adele Lim, the writer of Crazy Rich Asians, and Steph Shue and Ashley Park, where I was meant to be this crazy movie star, this like big movie star with a big swagger and everything. And Adele was like, "Des, when you walk into the scene, I need you to just come with the natural swagger." We were shooting these two back to back. And those two roles taught me that sometimes you have to take yourself seriously. I think a lot of Asians like to step back from the spotlight and like to be the quiet one in the partnership, right? A lot of the times when I meet business duos in the US, it's, not to make this a racial thing, but oftentimes the Asian guy is the more retiring one and the white guy is the forward presenting.
It's part of our culture too.
Part of our culture as well.
Yeah.
But it is important sometimes to just be like, "Hey, I'm here and I'm serious and I'm ready to do this," because there's a power and a law to that as well. And the second thing that taught me was whatever shield you lean on that is your comfortable way to get out of situations, for me was humor. That is probably something worth investigating and dismantling.
Right.
Not completely. Still use it every now and again, but if you over-rely on any given defensive or shield mechanism, you're not facing a part of yourself that I think can carry you forward in a pretty strong and powerful way.
Right, so true. You're limiting yourself from growth in a way by leaning on what is comfortable.
Exactly. And the arc of these two characters taught me that like, oh, no, not just in movies. You have to have an arc in life. You have to improve. Yeah. You got to change. You got to evolve.
I love that. I love that answer. Yeah. And it is true. Like change is the only constant, as people say.
100%.
Yeah.
And be comfortable with it in yourself too. It took a couple of days, and it's always useful to have people around you who exhort you to it. I had Adele, I had Gloria Kellett, lovely woman as well, to help me wake up and be like, "Hey, do this."
Yeah.
But it's still uncomfortable internally, and you just have to live with it long enough that discomfort goes away.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Switching gears a little bit, I want to talk a bit about food now. I mean, food on a movie set is something most people don't get to experience. So what is the best thing you've actually eaten on set?
Oh, man, that is so hard because there's no one specific dish. It's a lot of sort of catering style meals. They cook batch and then you sort of line up and grab one. And generally they're all really good. They feed you well on film sets because they know a cranky crew isn't going to turn out a good movie. Even the worst movies have great catering.
As a perk I didn't know about.
It's great. Yeah. It's incredible. But I will say Australian catering is next level. Like there's something about the produce. And I think the culture in Australia where like we do food. the terrain of skills that are appreciated in Melbourne, chefs and food is up there.
It's true. And you're so close to the source, right?
So
for a lot
close
of things.
to the source. Yeah. So you get a lot of people who take food very seriously, right? You got to take it seriously. Sometimes we moan and groan at like, the vegans or the people who are doing gluten-free stuff, but it's like, no, they're serious about this. Let's listen to the people who are serious about this. And a guy called Sasha, who runs a company called Real Food Catering down in Australia, did a movie recently called You Always with Adrian Grenier and Jess DeGao. That, I think, was the best on-set catering I've had in a long time. This guy did just like whole foods, like really tasty stuff, low GI sugars. He has a history that I think is not mine to share, but he has a history with like food being a very healing thing for him. And he was happy to sit down and chat with me about like what my macros should be for,
that's great.
Building up the body and all that day after day. He was a great dude.
And still have it delicious.
And still have it so good.
Yeah.
I don't know how he did it. I'm like, there's no salt in this? None whatsoever? And I'm like, it's so flavorful.
It's magic.
Yeah, just herbs and yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting talking to you about food because for the last many, many years when we have dinner, when we plan dinner with Des, we have to check if he's on a diet. Is he cutting? Is he like trying to gain weight? Or what is the situation with the food? Like, is he eating carbs these days? Like, we don't know. So
I'm always bulking.
Yeah.
No.
I know you have to watch your diet with like this level of intensity that most people don't.
Yeah. I don't have to. It's a little self-imposed. Okay. And look, my brand has hemmed that way as it happens. Brand, God. But it has hemmed that way a little bit. I'm the dude with the body. Look, I think doing those really kind of disciplined cuts has opened my awareness to how important what you're putting in your body is. Because on the cuts, you can't eat that much. So what you're doing, matters. You can't just have 1,500 calories of nuggets and chips. Well, you could, and you'd look great. But you would also die soon. So,
Yeah.
So that made me kind of, and Sammy was also, okay, to be clear, my first cut was terrible. It was like chicken and then chips and then like really unhealthy stuff, just very little of it.
Yeah.
And I was not good by the end of it. And my wife saw that and she was like, we need to get some lentils in this boy, like quick. So she's taken over some of the nutrition at home and it's been great.
Does having to do that make you appreciate food more?
Oh yeah.
Because I know that you love food and I'm glad that you still love food.
The problem, man, one of the big problems on set is the Crafty Station, which is just the table of snacks that they have out and they have it
What is that called?
Crafty.
Crafty Station.
Crafty Station. And they just have this like, usually it's like it's like a triple layered desk of donuts and cake.
Yeah.
And like, and then in the corner you'll have like your health foods. You'll have your, like your, exactly. But you can go have a donut whenever you want or a brownie whenever you want. And it's like fresh. And that is so dangerous. But it's made me appreciate the crafty table and not gorge myself. Yeah. Self-restraint.
I mean, I mentioned earlier your pizza making skills.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
Just the weird, slightly on the spectrum obsession, probably. Because I had a kick-ass pizza in Lygon Street in Melbourne at DOC. And that was the first time that I ever had like an artisanal pizza or whatever. And I was like, well, this is really expensive and I can't have it all the time. What if I just learned to do it myself? So, and this was early stages of the internet. There wasn't like a Reddit or any of that stuff. It was, I was like probably 16, 17, around that age.
Okay.
So we didn't have like the power of AI at our fingertips. I ended up on this like pizza making forum and I found this guy called Peter Reinhardt, his recipe, which still lives to this day. That's like a linchpin recipe in the pizza community. And I based off that and then learned how dough interacts with, flour interacts with water, interacts with yeast, interacts with salt, interacts with the general humidity of a day, interacts with the temperature of your fridge.
Yeah.
There's a really great, for any aspiring pizza makers out there, there's a fantastic graph out there between, this is getting real nitty gritty, between the ferment time of a dough and the temperature of your fridge. And how many, depending on the numbers you plug in, it's like, this has to ferment for 5 days or something. So that's how nerdy I am about it.
Yeah, I heard there's an Excel spreadsheet about your pizza making history.
Yeah. I record every dough that I've made. It's in America. And it includes the yeast down to 7 significant figures, and the humidity of the day.
Yep. And so pizza, is it more about the dough for you or the toppings?
The dough.
The dough.
100% the dough, because I love carbs.
Okay.
I love carbs.
Yeah,
I love cheese, don't get me wrong, and sausage and all that stuff, but like when the dough is dialed in just right, I could eat just
any
the
topping.
crust.
Yeah.
I could put like garlic and butter on there and just eat that. You know what I mean? It would just be a delicious garlic flatbread.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the meal you cook for yourself most often?
Do you want the real answer, or do you want the?
I want the real answer.
The real answer is chicken and spinach.
Chicken and spinach.
Boiled
How do you
chicken
do it?
and spinach. I do nothing to the chicken. I raw dog the chicken into the pot. I boil the pot. I take the chicken out. I eat it and frown a lot because it's real chewy and real dry.
And it's a chicken breast, right?
It's just a chicken breast. Okay. And then I boil spinach in the same water because that has some flavor from the chicken. And then I eat the spinach. And sometimes I get a little crazy and I put some dashi and soy sauce on the spinach.
Some seasoning.
And it's like, ooh, salt.
Fancy.
Yeah, it's fancy.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like my go-to shorthand, because it's like, well, if I can't think of what I want to cook tonight, and if I do need to stay in shape, then that's the easiest thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. It's not a fun, tasty answer. It's like dry chicken and mushy spinach.
Yeah.
It's like British cheer on.
And you weren't a spinach kid growing up. You were a very anti-vegetable kid. So I think Mom's very proud, that you've made this progress into the world of vegetables.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I've stopped scoffing at kale.
Yeah.
It's great.
Sort of rounding things out, like what does success mean to you now? And has that definition changed over time?
Success to me means not having to eat chicken and spinach every day. No. Yeah, it definitely has changed, and I think it's probably changed for you as well. So I'd be curious to hear your take on this after. But for me, success was very binary when I was younger. And it was easy for it to be binary because the exact paradigm that was placed in front of us was you get 99.95 and everything else is a fail. Right? Like in Australia, in the VCE, they have this tiered ranking percentile system. And 99.95 means you're in the top 0.05% of the student body, the top 20 students out of X number, and then move down 99.9, 99.85. And I think we heard the number 99.95 more than anyone else growing up in Australia. Like that was an oversaturation. It's like
that is the goal.
Yeah.
That is what you need to achieve. Yeah.
But so success was binary, right? It was like you're that or you get nothing. And then we both had a taste of like not quite getting that. Like close enough. We're still very proud of how we did, but 99.85 for anyone wondering. We were top 0.15%, both of us. Although I did that with a big sister blazing the trail for me, so mine was probably worth a little less. But that was, I think, the first kind of chink in the armor of that myth that success is binary. It's either you do it or you don't. And I was like, oh, I didn't, but I'm still alive and I'm still actually thriving and I'm still doing well. And I'm still going to like the best law school in Australia and I'm still smart, maybe, I think. I'm not sure. The tests I'm very good at taking tests. I don't know about smart, but I am very good at taking tests. And then as I went through, uni, it was like, now I see now I'm getting like barely passes, but the world keeps turning and I still keep learning and I'm still, amassing things. And then I do wonder sometimes the person that I'd be in relation to success if I hadn't found an artistic career. Because then once you hit art, man, then it's like, oh, it's all subjective. It's wibbly wobbly. The points don't matter. Thanks, Drew Carey. Your success is really, really self-determined. It's like going back to that audition thing, man. It's a success when I put down an audition and I watch and I'm like, that's fun to watch. And you have to, only you, there's no one else you can turn to and say like, hey, can you tell me, is this good? Is this thing that I did good? You have to find it in yourself. And so that I think is where my relationship with success has come to. And that's so good. Particularly again, going back to longevity and the grind of it all. If you can find happiness, even in the parts that are less palatable, then you have a career. Otherwise, you've just found a passion.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think what you said about viewing things as binary or on a scale of gray is really important, because I think for me as well, like you, going through university, I was very much like, if it's good, then it's good, and if it's not good, it means it's bad. But not good is actually a whole spectrum of things that aren't good. You know, and it took me a long time to get my head around that.
For sure.
And I think getting my head around that has helped me in life tremendously. Just being a better listener, being a better person, understanding myself better. Yeah, all those things.
Yeah.
So, what you said about
I've been saying you've been like choosing joy a lot more, you know,
yes,
in the last few years.
Yeah,
and that's great.
You just have to, because I think there's always going to be, it's never going to be a good time, and you might as well just make it a good time. Right?
Choosing joy is success.
Yeah.
Right? Like it just is. You know, you make that choice. And we've met any number of people, of very successful people who are also very sad and miserable people.
Right.
I'm not going to out anyone, but you know, it doesn't, it's a gilded cage sometimes. Not for everyone. There's plenty of rich and successful people who are very happy also.
Yes.
But it's not a guarantee. So you learn to put down the destination, because it does come at the expense of the journey.
That's a great one. Yeah.
I just remixed an old. Everyone knows that phrase. I just said it weird.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I do have a few quick questions that I ask everybody who I invite to this podcast.
Quick fire.
So first one is, what is your first ice cream memory?
My first ice cream memory is, can I throw you under the bus?
Go right ahead.
A little bit. Natasha is not the first sibling to make ice cream. 'Twas I. And again, just, I had a good ice cream on Lygon Street. Lygon Street, I'm so sad about what's happened to Lygon Street in Melbourne.
I haven't been back for a long time.
It's gone. There's just nothing there anymore. Il Dolce's gone, which is that ice cream shop I'm about to talk about. It's that favorite ice cream shop in Melbourne. Well, not to put words in your mouth. Was it your favorite ice cream shop?
It was mine too, back in the day.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it was great. And I had their ice cream, and then again I was like, well, I can't have this every day. Or like, mum and dad won't let me have this every day. But if I make it at home and they don't like us wasting food, then I can have as much as I want. I thought I'd game the system.
Yeah.
So then I was like, how do you make ice cream? And it kind of, that kind of captured my mind as well, because no one ever thinks about making ice cream. Like, it's just a thing you can buy at the supermarket already. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I think between the sort of like do things better gene that was built into us by benefit of our upbringing, I was like, I want a really good version of this. I don't just want Bulla ice cream from the supermarket. So I looked up how to do it and just made, I think I made a malted, no, I think my first flavor was like a caramelized white chocolate.
Yes, I remember that actually.
Yeah, and it was kind of grainy.
It was the first time I realized you could caramelize white chocolate.
Right.
So that was
I found
awakening.
a recipe online. And and it was just fun, The idea of doing something that no one thinks to do is inherently fun. So, if you find that thread in your life, follow it.
And the next question would be, what is your absolute favorite snack?
If it's like a leftover meal snack, it's pizza. Like if there's pizza in my fridge, very rapidly there will no longer be pizza in my fridge. But if it's like a snack that you get from like a supermarket or something, then gummy bears is a really weird weak point for me. Red and white gummy bears.
Only the red and white ones?
Well, I can't resist any of the others too. I'll have them if they're on the table, but I will, given the choice, root around in the packet and take out all the white and red ones and eat those first. You're an orange gummy bear person.
I'm an orange gummy bear. Yeah.
Yeah. So everything else I'm able to resist. I'm able to say no to. Red gummy bears, if they're there, I'm eating them. They get net.
Very serious question now. Do you lick or bite your ice cream?
Bite.
That I'm sure people just got like shivers in their mouth.
No hesitation. Bite. I'm sure I've just pissed off like 50% of your audience
Even
as well.
if it's like a cone, like a gelato cone, you're biting that.
Yeah, but you can't lick a cone. And then when you lick the cone gets worse, right? Like, okay, hang on. Logistically, you have a cone of ice cream, you're licking it, and you're only getting one texture experience, which is melted ice cream in your tongue, or you're biting it and you're getting like, it melts in your mouth, but you're also getting a bit of that like pushback from the creamy kind of like, gelato. You get that mouth feel. And then when you get down to the level of the cone, if you're still licking it, you're ruining the cone. Like you've seen those kids out there on the street like licking their cones, and the cones just disintegrating. And it's like this is an integral part of the experience, potentially the best part of the experience that you've now ruined for yourself with the terrible habit.
Okay, I'm with you on the texture part.
What, are you a licker or are you
I'm more of a licker, yeah. But I will bite. I mean, obviously I bite the cookie sandwich and I bite a cone. Right. Yeah. But the ice cream itself, I lick it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Does it hurt your teeth?
I feel like it does kind of, you feel that sensitivity. Maybe as I got older. It's like I now need to lick my ice cream to warm it up a little bit. Tell me about one trait you have without which you wouldn't be here today.
You.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm not a trait though.
Well, yeah, you are technically.
Yeah. Okay.
In Dungeons and Dragons rules, anything can be a trait. Big sister as a trait.
Aww.
Gave me all her notes. Figured out the exam structures before. And that's true. That is true. But I will say, okay, if we want to reduce it to like a personality trait, because it would be the ability to grind, which I think you were a really good example of that growing up. And I think you bequeathed to me an inherently lazy person who would otherwise have chosen the path of least resistance. I really was a lazy kid. Like, I don't know, like
You were lazy in a smart way. Like I know that, so I had some classes with Des at university and I would be writing down everything the lecturer said and he would sit next to me and he didn't even bring a pen most days. Like he just didn't bring paper, didn't bring a pen. He'd just sit there and gaze off into the distance and look at the lecturer and he would score better than me. So I don't know, he like absorbs by osmosis or something.
I'm a listening learner. I'm very good at listening and learning.
Yeah.
I found my law notes the other day. Not the other day, this is a few years ago when we were clearing out the house in Melbourne.
Yeah.
I found the folder and it's one folder and it's like 3 pages.
Yeah,
for
it's crazy.
6 years of law school.
There were no notes. It was all just
because I had access to yours.
Right.
You just gave me yours.
I enabled that.
And you enabled this.
That lazy listening.
This lazy listening. And, I don't think I would have been successful in lazy listening without your notes. So again,
you had a safety net.
I had a safety net. Yeah.
What's something you believe about yourself or the world that you've since outgrown?
Oh, that I've since outgrown.
Sorry. What's something that you used to believe about yourself or the world that you've since outgrown?
That I've since outgrown. I used to believe that the world was like, and I'm going to get into some gamer metaphors here. I used to believe that the world was like an RPG and everyone had stats and you could become arbitrarily better than another person by leveling up your stats. And I think a lot of technocrat bros out there still believe that to be the case. So I'm telling you guys, it ain't. That's something that I've grown. It was useful when I had it as a philosophy. When I first started working out, I'd imagine like, I'm adding +1 strength, +2 strength, +3 strength. And it was arbitrary, right? Yeah. And it's like, I'm getting better every day. But eventually in the face of real life, that system breaks down. And not to get too heavy with it, I think that's why we have a really big kind of male crisis on our hands where like, because I think guys operate on this idea of like, if I'm improving every day, if I'm getting better every day, I'm being a warrior every day, I'm going to be better than the next guy. That system does kind of break down against life that is kind of fluid and really confusing and doesn't put your traits in a box. And we're getting real. This may not make it. We got a little real here, but that is something I no longer believe. Okay. I think it is useful while you have it, but you must move on from it.
And what is one thing you think everyone should eat in their lifetime and why?
Ooh, one thing. So I think everyone should eat the ice cream and cookie companies, ice cream cookies in Singapore, where you should come, go to Jewel, have a lovely day, stop by Cold Storage, grab as much ice cream cookie company products as you can and eat it. It's really good. Like, I'm not just saying this. It's genuinely very, very, very good. The sticks that you've just come out with.
Oh, thank you.
So good.
Yeah.
So
how about a savory food?
A savory food. Pizza.
Pizza.
Everyone should have pizza at least once. I know we think about these like really, I mean, who hasn't had pizza, I guess, though?
Is there a particular topping you think everyone should try?
If you've never had a potato and leek pizza in your life, these are both cheap things, Go out and buy some bread, chuck some potato on it, salt it up a little bit, chuck some leek on it, chuck some cheap cheese on it, put it in the toaster oven, toast it up. It's delicious. It's like a really convenient potato and leek soup. It's good comfort food.
That's a good combination. Really good. Yeah. And it's carbs on carbs, which we love.
Carbs on carbs, man. And veggies.
Yeah.
Leek. There's fiber.
True.
The cheese has
some protein.
Selenium and calcium, I guess. I don't know. Yeah.
What's a piece of advice that changed your life?
Piece of advice that changed my life. First thought, best thought. And I got that from, it was a little bit self-engineered, but I think the first time, I was already working my way around that philosophy when I think a mentor of mine in some ways, a fellow called Ray Stevenson, who has since passed away, rest in peace. I worked with him on Reef Break. He is a really great actor. He's a great artist. And I remember one time he saw me in a scene turning over all the options that, I could do a scene in. And I was getting kind of choice paralysis. And he was like, Des, first thought, best thought. You got this, go. And I think it's a good piece of advice because one, it's good practical advice. Sometimes just do the thing. And then two, it's like great advice to give someone coming up because there's a built-in compliment to it. There's a built-in, hey, I trust you. I know you. Your first thought will be the best thought. Do it. Come on.
Yeah.
And I think it was a really nice way to say it. And I've kept that in here as one of these like totemic forces that I have to call on every now and again when sometimes analyzing all the data is spinning me out. And I'm just like, no, let's just do the thing.
That's a good one. Actually it's like trusting your gut and your intuition.
Yeah.
First thought, best thought.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. It's been a really lovely conversation. Yeah. And I think we should do this every 3 months and just catch up. Man, maybe we don't need to record every single session. But yeah, thank you so much, Des. Really loved learning from you and, learning about your journey and how you've come to be who you are today.
Well, hopefully we all keep learning from each other and keep chugging away at this little circle of life. Yeah.
Thank you. If you enjoyed listening to Soul Food, please give us a 5-star rating, subscribe, or share an episode with your friends. It helps us grow so we can continue bringing you thoughtful conversations. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today.